On this episode of Just Informed Talk, the latest new Q post asked the question, was Donald Trump Jr. set up by the Obama administration? Plus, President Trump meets with the Army Corps of Engineers head Lieutenant General discussing how they're going to build the wall. And what else is the fake news going to make up about President Trump's latest executive emergency declaration? Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. I always like to start by saying thank you to everybody who's come here. If you haven't come here and clicked the button already, please come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and make sure you hit the like button if you guys like what you're seeing right now. So we're going to jump right into it. First of all, this is where we're picking up. It's right where we left off. Of course, is leaving off at Q post 2736 is where we last went, and now our new post that we're picking up on is Q post 2737. And as I always like to say, if you guys want to get caught up on the latest post, come here to the landing page, watch these last few videos. They're going to get you caught up to everything that's been going on as far as Q posts go, so you can get caught up that way. And if you're scratching your head going, what's QAnon and what is this guy talking about, I encourage you to come here to this page and watch this video. What is QAnon, the Great Awakening? It'll give you a good idea of what QAnon, the Great Awakening is, and how to get involved, where to find the information, how to do the research, all that kind of good information you can get from that video. So I encourage everyone to go check it out. So let's go right into the first Q post from which we left off here. And basically, this is a Fox News article that was put out that talks about a DHS, Department of Homeland Security official, who is saying that the border security bill does not contain amnesty, quote unquote, poison pills. Now, if you guys know and have been following, President Trump just recently was able to sign a bill that was put forth by Congress, which basically allocated a little over $1 billion in money for the border wall. So construction. Now, this was the contested part of the deal, and in conjunction with signing that bill, the appropriation that was written by Congress, President Trump actually also declared a national emergency and has started diverting resources toward the southern border in order to start building the wall. Now, the first critique that was put out by the media, as we so lovingly call them, the mainstream media, or lamestream media, whatever you want to say. Basically what it did was they started pointing out all of these flaws, and they started pointing to appropriations inside the bill that talked about unaccompanied alien minors and how it's de facto amnesty, right? So this is a lot of people out there saying this, and this article actually seeks to basically debunk that amnesty claim, right? Because here was the part that I think they were trying to point to, where it talked about how it would work. It said that no funds may be used to detain or deport any sponsor or potential sponsor of an unaccompanied alien child. It adds that even any member of a household or a potential sponsor is now immune from deportation. But the DHS official told Fox News that terms like potential sponsor have precise meanings in Department of Homeland Security regulations, and meanings that severely limit the number of people the budget keeps safe from deportation. So if you guys have been seeing reports about President Trump signing this bill and you're upset because there are these quote unquote amnesty poison pills, that's basically just a complete mischaracterization of the truth. And we're going to get into this further in the later Q posts, where Q breaks down step by step how President Trump signing that bill, and in conjunction with the declaration of a national emergency, there are certain ways that President Trump has worded the language inside of both of those that counteracts whatever types of write-ins were put in by Congress to undermine the president's ability to move forward with building the wall, if that makes sense. So we'll leave that one. All these, I have a bunch of articles that we're going to go over in this video. Everything will be linked down in the description box. So if you guys want to read this fully, I encourage you to scroll down to the description, find the link, and you can read through it yourself. But Q says, be careful who you follow. Q. And that's totally true. You know, basically what you have to understand is that there are a lot of people who are going to try to poke holes in this, and Q has done his best basically to to basically give us a better idea of what's going on. So a lot of this is going to make sense as we move forward through these posts, because Q made a point to actually clarify exactly how President Trump reworded the language to change this. So you guys just stick around if you guys want to hear that full story, right? So first of all, this is a graphic from something we all know if you've been following these boards for a while. We knew back in March of 2018 that the United States Army Corps of Engineers was going to be responsible for building the wall when we got the message from Q that said Red Castle, Green Castle, meaning the logo for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is a red castle. Their headquarters is in Greencastle, Indiana. And Q wants us to look at this. There's a tweet here by Dan Scavino Jr., which says, after declaring a national emergency, President Trump is briefed by U.S. Army Chief of Engineers Commanding General Lieutenant General Todd T. Semonite on the status to date of the border wall and all future construction to begin along the southern border. How long ago did we know this, guys? That's really the question. Is how long have we known this? It says Army Chief of Engineers, all future construction. How long have Anons known? Fake news attacking us daily. Dems are predictable, stupid. Nothing to see here, Q. So, look, this is self-explanatory. We knew about this a long time ago, all the way back in March. We knew that the Army Corps of Engineers was going to be the one tasked with building this wall, and it was everything Q told us up to this point basically points to the fact that this whole kabuki, this political theater that was put on, was to show you how the Democrats truly feel, to make them put things on record, like say things that like walls are immoral, and say things like we don't care if illegal immigrants just come into the country completely unchecked. Those kind of things had to be put out on the record so that people could really see how they actually feel about this issue, so that the American people can make a more informed choice, in my opinion. That was the whole point, right? The whole point was to show us that Democrats, this is their ideology. Their ideology is no borders, let everyone in, give everyone the right to vote, give everyone free Medicare for the most part. I mean, I'm not talking entirely, but I'm saying there are a lot of Democrats out there that believe that is what should be done. And President Trump wanted us to see that. That's why that happened. Okay, so the next one here is kind of funny. I've been tweeting this guy out. It's hilarious. Anyway, it's this tweet right here, and it's very funny, and it's the Twitter fight at No Wall Corral. And I'm not going to play it because it probably has some music I'm going to get a copyright strike or something if I use the music that's behind this, but it's hilarious. I mean, you guys can see right here, this is a famous scene from one of those old Westerns where basically, you have President Trump telling him, the wall's getting built, and he's just, here's Jim Acosta from CNN just, doing his like little cry face, and it's just funny. It's supposed to be a joke. It's meant in jest, and and you see all these other news organizations standing around. So it's obviously just a meme that's meant to be taken, lightly, and but there is some truth to what's being insinuated here. So you guys see that, and President Trump is the man. I love how it has Diet Coke at the end, though. I thought that was kind of funny. Anyway, Q says on the daily Q, and that's what President Trump is basically doing to all those guys out there trying to report fake news on the regular. He's telling them, look, you can only do this for so long before the American people are able to see right through it. And, for now they have such a strong grip over a lot of people, but that's weakening, and we're, on the daily working. And thank you, President Trump, for all that you do, in Q and everyone else involved. So anyway, the next one here is Devin Nunes actually tweets out this after this article from the Daily Caller, which talks about new evidence refutes Adam Schiff's theory about Trump Tower meeting. And this was about those phone calls. Remember how they were saying that Donald Trump Jr. made these secret phone calls after the meeting to his father, right? That was the speculation. Well, guess what? That turned out not to be true. And Devin Nunes basically says, didn't the Russians meet with Democrat Clinton operatives before and after the meeting? Yeah, we've talked about this ad nauseum here on the channel, how this Veselnitskaya, Natalia Veselnitskaya, was let into the country by Loretta Lynch, right, with a special passport. And this woman was meeting with the Fusion GPS people before and after the Trump meeting. So you think it might have been a setup, but Q explains it even better here because, and then of course you guys remember this was a post that we got back in August 31st of 2018 where it talked about this exact setup. Where Loretta Lynch, there was a paper trail and special entry that was granted to Natalia Veselnitskaya, right, to go after, I believe, Manafort and others, which talks about there was a FISA warrant issued and approved for Manafort, and Mueller is going after Manafort, and it kind of goes over everything. But it also talks about how Veselnitskaya got into the country. right? Now, keep that in mind when we look at the next statement here made by Q, where he says, "You have more than you know. Why did Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General of the United States, grant quote-unquote special entry to Natalia Veselnitskaya, Don Jr.'s setup meeting? Why was Natalia Veselnitskaya barred from entering prior to? If you have no real evidence of Russian collusion, you must attempt to manufacture." Q. And that's exactly what it was. If anyone out there can give me a good reason why the Attorney General of the United States under the Obama administration would let in this woman who they suspect of being some sort of Russian agent, this Natalia Veselnitskaya, with a special entry, a visa. If anybody can answer that question, please do. And if you can also further go on to say, why was Natalia meeting with Democrat Clinton operatives before and after the Don Jr.'s meeting? Was it a setup? That's the question. You guys, I'm going to leave that to you. You know, you guys have to look at it with your own logical thinking, but it says no real evidence of Russian collusion. Well, you got to make it up. Attempt to manufacture, right? Oh, yeah, okay, great. Yeah, okay, anyway, that's what that is. The next one here is another Twitter account where basically it shows us how big this movement is and how it's growing, right? You have the Where We Go One. I think that's basically written on there with like one of those, I think it's like that erasable paint, you know, that you use on like cars or whatever, but it might not be. But anyway, it says Where We Go One, We Go All, and this is in Jersey, right? And it's just another sign of the times where we're creating a movement that they have to stop because we're standing up for what is true. We're going around the fake news machine that is built to keep you with the blinders on like horses drawing a carriage, you know, and we're removing those blinders and showing you the whole world around you, right? And I know for a lot of people that can be disturbing, but like Q says, it's bigger than you realize. And the purpose of fake news attacks, slow growth and reach. That's why they have to come after the Q movement and everyone who is involved with it, because the growth that we have achieved and we will achieve into the future is going to outpace whatever they can do to basically discount us. So that's where we're at right now, and that's what that seems to be referring to. Of course, here's a couple more Twitter Twitter and a YouTube, right? So first off, over here, this is at the Scottish Parliament, right? You have somebody who went and spray painted a Q on a door there, which, you know, look, they have to know that this is happening, right? But what's even more fascinating is the parallel that Q draws. If you guys don't really know this right here, this is the V for Vendetta movie, and I'm not going to play any of it because I know I'll get a strike, but basically, you know, here's the scene, you know, it's the revolutionary speech that the guy in this whatever his name is does, and I think it's Guy Fawkes or whatever. And so look, you guys can watch this. I'll leave a link to it down in the description, and it's definitely worth watching and then comparing to this tweet and understanding how this movement is growing. Now, I'm not saying that we're in a movie and that this is all fake. I'm saying that this is the same principle or idea as to why they want to shut us down. And look, we are living in 1984. Big Brother is very real. If you guys ever watch V for Vendetta, you'll understand very quickly that there are a lot of parallels to what we're going through today, where you have basically everything George Orwell predicted is slowly but surely coming true. And these mega corporations and these news giants are basically marching lockstep with the paradigm that was created by Orwell's 1984. They do it on YouTube, they do it on Facebook, Twitter, on Google. They do it everywhere. They control information. They control what you can see. They want to control the narrative. They want to control your mind. They want to put you to sleep so that you don't ask questions and you're not aware of your surroundings. And that's what Q is saying here. He says similar to below. So you guys can make of that as you may. There'll be links to all this down in the description that you guys can go click and check out. Now it says, here's a Breitbart article, right? Now, what does this talk about? It says networks refusing to cover Senate's no Russia collusion report. Of course, when the Senate Intelligence Committee, I believe, came out and said that there was no collusion between President Trump and Russia. This was an official statement that was released by the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, and it was a bipartisan report which was released, right? They actually said, look, we have no findings for any Russian collusion, therefore, we should not, basically that was it. It was, we don't have anything that would point to any type of Russian collusion, but This is the statement of the year right here. It says the same networks that spent 2,202 minutes of collective airtime to push the Russian collusion media hoax are refusing to cover the Senate Intelligence Committee bipartisan report, which found no collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. And that's where that's basically all you need to know about this article. You guys can come read the full thing for yourself, but this is what we're up against, right? The same people that will spend countless hours just going on and on and on about how, there's possible collusion between President Trump. He put Russian dressing on a salad, and there was something here or there. Look, this is exactly what we're talking about when we talk about why the media has become so untrustworthy. If you think about it, they do not report on news that matters to the people, the important news when it comes to factual reporting, right? And that's what we're going up against. And Q says, how do you know when the media is biased and pushing a knowingly false fake narrative, disinformation campaign designed to buy them more time by attempting to con enough people in order to remove the duly elected president of the United States in order to, quote, save themselves from prosecution? Enemy of the people, Q. That's what this is. That's what everything has been. And I don't know how more people aren't putting these pieces together, but we're blessed, and I think I'm thankful myself that we have people like the Q around and others to tell us exactly what's going on. So when you read through this, right, what is this basically saying? They're just trying to buy time. The whole Russia thing was to buy time for till the 2020 election so that they could retain power again. Because guess what, guys? In case you haven't noticed or realized, they never thought she would lose. They never thought Hillary Clinton would lose. Therefore, they were not prepared for this. And their half, attempt to prepare and to manufacture all these things, where you have Peter Strzok and Lisa Page talking about insurance policies and all this other stuff. Look, it was all designed in order to stall. And that's where we're at. We're in a stall, and this is what President Trump has to push through every single day just to get information out and to the people. That's why Q is necessary. Q and the whole movement is just another source of information, right? But we have multiple people, patriots every day, working hard, spreading information, spreading news, getting the word out there. And this is just one set of that. And I'm telling you right now, you guys can do all the logical thinking for yourself. I'm not going to tell you what to think. I'm just going to tell you what this looks like. I'm going to just report this to you, and then you guys can use your own logical thinking to make of it as you may. Now, here's some of my favorite, this is my favorite part about what we do here, is that we put our faith in God and we put our faith in the Lord. And I have to tell you guys that, to have these kind of little glimpses of hope and goodness in Scripture are what we have to look to first. And Q wants to share that with us, and I appreciate it, and I want to share it with you now. Thankfully, it says, but the Lord is faithful, and he will strengthen you and protect you from the evil one. And that's 2 Thessalonians 3:3. And that's so true. And another great one here is, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Psalm 46:1. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one, from Matthew 6:13. So these verses to me just remind myself, and I hope they help you understand that God is in control. And if we turn ourselves over to God and we put our faith in God, that's what will redeem us. That's what will save us. And that's what will get us through these tumultuous times, these turbulent times. Putting faith in God. Right? That's really what needs to be first and foremost. And then after that, you can basically go from there. And the next one here is a Fox News article. And this is basically talking about former top FBI lawyer. Two Trump cabinet officials were ready to support 25th Amendment effort. I wonder who they were. But anyway, it says here, in former top FBI lawyer James Baker, in closed-door testimony to Congress, detailed alleged discussions among senior officials at the Justice Department about invoking the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump from office, claiming he was told Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein said two Trump cabinet officials were ready to support, quote-unquote, such an effort. The new testimony was delivered last fall at the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees. Fox News has confirmed portions of the transcript. It provides additional insight into the discussions that have returned to the spotlight in Washington, as fired FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe revisits the matter during interviews promoting his forthcoming book. Okay, so you guys can read the rest of this if you want, but it lays out everything right here. And it talks about, first of all, we'll read this little part after. It says, Baker did not identify the two cabinet officials, but in testimony, the lawyer said McCabe and FBI lawyer Lisa Page came to him to relay their conversations with Rosenstein, including discussions of the 25th Amendment. It says, I was being told by some combination of Andy McCabe and Lisa Page that in a conversation with the Deputy Attorney General, he had stated that this was what he was related to me, that he had at least two members of the president's cabinet who were ready to support, I guess you would call it, an action under the 25th Amendment. That's what Baker told the committee. So reading through this, you can see that it's alleged that there were two unnamed cabinet officials who were involved in this, and you can read through this article if you want, but speculatively speaking, with the timing of all this, who knows who it could have been. People who aren't even there possibly now, maybe Priebus and Spicer, but I'll throw that to you guys in the comments to let me know what you think about that. And Q says, information waterfall, buckle up, traitors, in the metaphorical kill box there, which is bold with brackets, and it says Q. So you guys are going to have to wait and see what that is. We'll all be waiting to see that for ourselves as well. Now, this one talks about the actual same thing, the article that we just went over, and Q's responding to that again, saying they were removed. When was Page removed from the investigation? What month? July 2017 early. When was Scaramucci hired? July 2017 late. Read the Scaramucci model. It says 5-5. Those who left, majority, did not have a choice. All remained pro-MAGA and loyal to POTUS. Why are we attacked by pro-MAGA? The establishment runs deep. Logical thinking, Q. So, look. I think Q's telling us what we kind of already know here. Q's basically saying that even the people who you think are pro-MAGA, the people that go on the big talk shows on Fox News and sit down and have conversations about how they're all for MAGA and the movement, they might not all be exactly who they seem, and there's a lot of neocon, conservative, deeply entrenched individuals around who have basically jumped on this bandwagon because they know that you either jump on it or you get left behind. Right, so that's why they're all jumping on board, and it's a good question. Why are we attacked by pro-MAGA? Right, that's a very good question. And as far as the Scaramucci model, it talks about that's how individuals were removed. I know that was how they pushed Priebus out and others. So maybe those were the people who were being pushed out. Obviously, Lisa Page is talking to people in the White House apparently at that time about how they would support this 25th Amendment push when having meetings with Rosenstein and McCabe, and Rosenstein is saying, hey, I'll wear a wire. I mean, come on, guys, right? Crazy, right? All right. So the next two here that we look at are both from the whitehouse.gov. The first one here is actually President Trump's border security victory. And this kind of article goes through piece by piece how there were different legislative wins, what all of the bill provides, and how it lays out exactly where the money is going to end up going to. It talks about a promise to act. The President Trump is taking executive action to ensure we stop national security. So that would be the humanitarian crisis that's been basically the emergency that was declared at the southern border, right? So what that does is it identified up to $8.1 billion that will be available to build the border wall once a national emergency is declared, and of course a national emergency on the border. So President Trump is going to use his clear authority, and it goes through each one of these piece by piece. I'll leave that for you guys if you want to read through it. It's very interesting. It's just basically, like it says here, it's a fact sheet that goes over that. Now, the next one here is even more interesting, which is a statement from the president. Now, the beauty of this, as we're going to go over in later posts where Q clarifies all this, is that this statement actually goes through point by point. So what happened was, when the bill was put through Congress and then put on the president's desk, which established the $1 billion worth of funding for the wall, they wrote in all these little caveats that basically would allow Congress to curtail the amount of money that was spent and to basically shut down certain portions of that spending. Well, this point by point seems to go through and point out how the president has certain executive privileges and powers that would allow him to go around those write-ins in the bill in order to supersede whatever Congress says they can do as far as removing funding, right, for the wall. So that's kind of what this goes through point by point. Again, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. It's got a lot of information here, so you guys are going to want to check that out for yourself. There'll be links, of course, as I said, down in the description if you guys want to read it. But We're going to get into an explanation of that a little bit later in the Q post as well. So the next one here is an anon posting the Scaramucci play, which was temp hire to remove embedded untrustworthy staffers. Spicer Priebus, Sean Spicer, you remember him, the former press secretary, and the Reince Priebus, the former chief of staff. Temps can be very dangerous to those who are targeted. Think Whitaker. So this is interesting, right? And again, Q points out here that this was all part of this other larger post that we had back in November of 2018, which talks about White House optics must remain stable. And so it talks about how it's going to come in all directions. And this was like kind of another example of how we knew a long time ago about all the stuff that we're going through right now. And if you read it right here, it says, many did not leave by choice. This is something we got back in November. And it says, save face and promote MAGA or be exposed. Priebus, Spicer, yeah. Spicer's on Fox all the time talking about how he loves President Trump, yet he was removed through the Scaramucci play, apparently, because there was not really a choice. He didn't have a choice. He had to leave. Less than 10, attacks occur from all directions. Logical thinking. Why attack a movement simply by design, asking people to think for themselves? Control equals power. Why are the biggest news companies in the world continuing to attack this movement? Why is the Washington Post leading the attacks? We already connected all the dots. There, who funds the Washington Post, right? Who funds Amazon? Those are the two questions you have to answer, and then you'll get think clowns in action. Think that, right? So it says you attack those who who are the biggest threat, right? Yeah, that's where we are. Swamp contains red and blue, and we already knew this. We knew that it's on both sides of the aisle, and that's just what Q, I think, is clarifying there. So anyway, in the next one, this is an anon who put up here talking about numerous provisions purport in certain circumstances to condition the authority to officers to spend or reallocate funds on the approval of congressional committees, right? This is an excerpt from that article that we had from whitehouse.gov. It says, these are impermissible forms of congressional aggrandizement in the execution of the laws other than by enactment of statutes. My administration will make appropriate efforts to notify the relevant committees before taking the specified actions and will accord the recommendations of such committees all appropriate and serious consideration, but it will not treat spending decisions as dependent on the approval of congressional committees, right? So all restrictions are off is what the anon asks, and Q says trust your president, right? Meaning that this explains how there are considerations that are made when these congressional committees have oversight capabilities, right? But at the same time, it's also saying that they can be superseded by the president and his executive authority. But we're going to get into that again later, right? So then this is it right here, where an anon basically lays it all out, and all Q does is point to this because it explains everything perfectly in a perfect statement, right? It says Trump's statement is brilliant. Deep State loaded the bill with multiple facets to block it, and his White House statement just released systematically points out section by section where they tried to block him, and he's countering that by citing presidential and constitutional authority. Shall we play a game? And it's got all the hashtags down here. So that's exactly it. That lays out exactly what President Trump did and is doing. That's what that statement was about. You guys can go read through it if you want, but it's a rebuttal to what they did with that bill as far as writing in little caveats that allowed them to divert funding. And President Trump's using his presidential or executive and constitutional authority to supersede that. Now, an anon says, I trust POTUS and I trust the Lord. The Lord is leading POTUS, and of that I'm certain. And I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. And Q says, the Lord is leading us all, good versus evil, Q. And I could not be in more of an agreement with that statement. And I'm here as one man. We're all here as individuals, but we all put our faith in God. And when we do that, we're going to be successful regardless of the outcome, because we'll have faith in God and we'll have that. And that's more important than anything that we're doing here. But to know that President Trump follows the Lord and that we are following the Lord, we all are being led by God. That is what is most important there. So anyway, the next one here is fascinating because these are pointing out the specific phrases that were input that allow President Trump to supersede them. So it says these phrases below imply that Trump plans on following his constitutional rights no matter what he signed in the Consolidation Appropriations Act of 2019. Now, this is from an anon, which authorizes appropriations to fund the operation of a number of agencies in the federal government through September 30th, 2019. Now, these are the phrases. Let's hear them. First, quote, my administration will treat each of these provisions consistent with the president's constitutional authorities with respect to foreign relations, unquote. And, quote, my administration will continue the practice of treating provisions like these as advisory and non-binding, unquote. And, quote, my administration will make appropriate efforts to notify the relevant committees before taking the specified actions and will accord the recommendations of such committees all appropriate and serious consideration, but it will not treat spending decisions as dependent on the approval of congressional committees. Boom. Love it. All right, now it says you are now the news. We are the news, guys. See, this is what the mainstream media is not going to report. They're just not. I mean, it's sad, but true. And if they do, it'll be like a 5-second blip, and then they'll have an hour of coverage on, what kind of Russian dressing President Trump used at one point in his life, right? I mean, it's that bad, right? So the next one here is this Q post where it's got Twitter, right? And I'm going to link this. You guys got to watch this guy. I already tweeted it out on my Twitter. You need to come here over at Just Inform You and check this out. Watch this video. This guy just I'm not going to play it here because I don't want to get in, whatever, people copyright, they're going to strike all this stuff. It's just crazy. But you guys can come watch it. I'll leave a link to the Twitter post in the description of this video. And you can come over here to my Twitter at Just Inform You on Twitter. You can watch this video. This gentleman right here, let me tell you what, he's right on, in my opinion. He's got a lot of very interesting insights into how those who are the most vocal and against what our country is doing to try to right itself and make, basically make America great again. Those who are most against it are the ones who seem to have so much disdain for our country, right? But they're at the same time, they have all this disdain. They want to get all these free and great things from our country, right? And he's basically making the point, like, you can't have it both ways. You can't hate our country and hate our flag and hate everything that we stand for, and then turn around and put your hand out and say, "Please, I want all these free things because our country's so awful. If our country's so awful, then why are you dependent on it?" Right? That's kind of the what is being said there, right? Very interesting, very fascinating. You guys should go check that out. And the next one, this is so crazy, right? So first off, here's a map, right? And first of all, this is Q pointing us to this map. Now, what is this map? This map is the, if you go here, it's got the Twitter link to it. So let's see, it's right here. Now, I think this is the Twitter link. Let me just double check. Yes. So that's the Twitter one where it talks about new Q mega memes. And I'm going to retweet this too after. If you guys want to go check it out, I'll actually just retweet it right now while we're on. You guys can go check that out. And it'll be on my Twitter page, and I'll leave a link, of course, in the description. But, and it goes to this Mega NZ, or mega.com, mega.New Zealand, whatever. This is the Mega Uploads. And it's just a plethora of memes that you can throw on your social media. So you guys need to come check it out. You can read through all the memes. They're quite hilarious. But the one in particular that's kind of mentioned in this is it's talking about countries requiring an ID to vote. Now, this is really crazy. It says full or partially democratic countries that require ID to register to vote or cast a ballot on election day in all districts. It's literally got almost every country in the world except the United States. You see the United States here at the end without a check. So this goes into what Q's going to say here. Watch. He breaks this down pretty great. So this is a map, right? What is this map? It's the NCSEL, states offering driver's license to immigrants, right? And it's got this map right here. So these are the states that are offering driving privileges to unauthorized immigrants. Now, Q wants us to look at these two things, but let's read what Q has to say. It says, it's very simple. Without the illegal vote, Democrats lose. Previous illegal immigration, high population versus Democrat win by county provided. And that's referring to what we saw when we saw the election, the heat map, right, for the country. And then we overlaid a map that showed where the highest volume and concentration of illegal immigrants are. And it just so happens that all the places with the highest concentration of illegal immigrants just so happen to vote Democrat, right? Now, the next example, it says example 2. Why do Dems push for illegals to obtain driver's license? It says, does having a driver's license make it easier to vote? And then that's what we just looked at that website and this graph up here, or graphic. And it says, what states provide driver's license to illegals? And it says, what checks are in place within each of the driver's license granted states to prevent 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times voting? Compare versus 2016 presidential election results. What do you notice? Do you believe in coincidences? Memes are important. Facts, hashtag facts matter Q. And I mean, this is a good question. What roadblocks, what preventative measures are in place to keep people who gain a driver's license from going to multiple precincts and voting 2, 3, 4, 5 times, especially if they're not a legal immigrant. If they're illegally here in this country and completely undocumented besides having a driver's license, which they've been given by the state, what's to stop them from going from one precinct to the other precinct to another precinct to another precinct and voting as many times as they want? That's the question. I mean, I think as any concerned American citizen should be concerned about that. Because not only is that voter fraud, it's completely illegal, but it's completely gaming the system, right? So anyway, Q responds to his own post here in the next one and puts up this map. Now, what is this map? This is the Electoral College results from the 2016 election. Oh, and does it not just line up perfectly almost with the same thing? These are states that are offering illegal immigrants or unauthorized immigrants driver's license and driving privileges. And it lines up perfectly. So you got all these states, and look, they're all the same states. So I think that's what Q wants us to look at. And you guys can use your own logical thinking and put together with that as what you may. And the next one here is an anon who posts this from Q when Q told us about why do Dems want to control the black population, right? And the black population is waking up. And Q responds by reposting that same post that was put up there and saying the date posted early. This was from October 2017, October 31st, prior to the black population awakening. Why did we emphasize as important when you are awake, we can see clearly Q? And I think it's just important that we've been told this for a while, and this was definitely, and there was a typo here. Q clarifies, swap we for you. So right here it says, when you are awake, you can see clearly. It's supposed to be you, not we. But this was given to us, you know, a long time ago, and it's more indicative of how just people are treated in general by the Democratic Party and other organizations like the news media and all of that. They're treated as inferior in an inability to wake up, when it's not true. Everyone, if they're given the same equal opportunity, has an equal chance, right? And that's really what you have to remind. You can't set the outcome. You can give everyone an equal opportunity, but you can't establish an outcome. Do you understand what the difference would that be? Either you give people a chance. You don't predetermine the outcomes, which is what the Democrats always want to do. You have to think a certain way because you're a certain color. You have to think a certain way because you're a certain gender, you're a certain this, or you're a certain that. It's the identity politics that Q is helping break down. And that's the biggest divisive thing in our country, is identity politics, in my opinion. So that's what that's referring to. And of course here, some more anons posting some pretty incredible stuff, right? And we got another message from President Trump. I mean, Q+, excuse me, Q+. Possibly. Who knows? Who knows who Q+ is? It could be anybody, right? I don't know. Anyway, so this is basically laying out that there's a zero delta between Trump tweets and the Q posts, right? Another blatant Q proof? Yes. What is this talking about? It says, yet another blatant Q proof, double zero delta. Trump team is with us today, friends. Isn't this incredible? I mean, I feel blessed to be in this position to be able to bring this information to you. And it's really incredible. So first of all, it goes like this. It shows President Trump's Twitter account where he tweets. It shows this post right here. And it shows the timing of them both. And there are 2 zero delta guys. Q+. So you know the delta is basically referring to the fact that, first of all, like look, you can see here, this is 29. Just look at the last ones, 2907, and this one is 28, basically a zero delta within a minute. And of course, right here you have 129 and the 0 delta of the 28. So, you know, double zeros means under a minute, right? That's what we're basing these off of. We can't get down to the second yet because, as Q's explained in the past, if there are two phones in the same room that are military encryption, one might take an extra couple seconds or take a few less seconds than the other. But you can basically, if you tweet and post at the same time, then you can get a 0 delta for these Q posts that coincide perfectly with President Trump's Twitter account. So that's what that's referring to. And the next one here is quite interesting as well. Again, Q is telling us that we are the news because what we just talked about with lining up these maps, right, and looking at the Electoral College and how it ended up turning out for Hillary, and where the states are where people have been given driver's license, which would make it easier for them to vote. So this, look, we're the news. We're giving information that is really important. And that's what makes that's what the biggest difference is, I think, between our movement and what people want to cast us as in the mainstream media. We're basically just here discussing things and asking questions that people don't want to ask. So anyway, another 0 delta. It's showing it's a more comprehensive graphic to show the two that come together. You have President Trump's Twitter account where basically we have these 0 deltas between, so February 10th at 17:04 and 5:04. We have the same thing, right? President Trump tweets, 0 delta right there. Again, today, President Trump tweets right here, and we have a 0 delta for this post. So, guys, Q gives us a bunch of, I think, other examples, and it says 0 delta, or the Anon, excuse me, who posts this. This wasn't Q, but this was an Anon. It says 0 delta from today, and the last 0 delta, 16 total now. And Q says, thank you, Patriot, Q. And yeah, that to me is incredible, just more proofs of Q. And of course, Q is dropping right as I'm making this video, so we have more posts coming in. So this one says, think about why separated both maps to posts instead of placing both in the original. At what point is it mathematically impossible? Q. It's because they wanted to have the 0 delta for the tweet, right? That's basically what that's saying, I think. And of course here, you can put the maps together and then look. I mean, people have been really done great work here, right? So first, the Anon puts together here, comparing the maps. You can put them right next to each other. But then this Anon actually did something even more incredible, which made a GIF that overlays them perfectly, or a GIF, whatever, however you say that. I don't know. Anyway, look, I mean, guys, great work, Patriot. Slowing will further highlight Q. Hey, you know what? That's where we're at. All right, so that's basically it. If you guys want to stick around, we got a few more things to talk about. You guys can help out the channel a few different ways. First of all, I always say best way to do is come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you bell notifications, and don't forget to smash the like button if you guys like what you just saw. And a couple other ways you can help out the channel are, of course, to come over here and check me out on Twitter at, as I said before, JustInformU. And like I said, I tweeted out some of those stuff. If you guys want to go get those, but it's at JustInformU over here on Twitter. And you can come check out justinformnews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk. That's a cool way you can get involved. And there's a couple other ways you can help out. They're both financial. I appreciate your support because, guys, doing this, going up against what happens with YouTube and demonetization, not just demonetization the way that they remove videos from suggested lists and all this stuff, trying to tamp down the ability of this information to spread, which we already know and have established through, following this movement up to this point, that this information is what they are so afraid of, because it's going against the mainstream narrative that's being created. So when you guys come here, you guys can help support this channel. This is a monthly donation on the crowdfunding website, Patreon, Patreon.com, and there'll be a link to this in the description. You click this button to become a patron, and it helps create content. You help continue to allow me to create content in the face of demonetization at YouTube, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate your help and support over here on Patreon. And also, if you guys don't want to do the whole monthly donation, I have a GoFundMe set up. A link to this will be in the description. You can do a one-time donation here, and I really appreciate your support. That really means the world to me. And now, before we go, I'm going to do a segment that we do at the end of each one of these episodes, and it's called God's Grace is Greater. And it's where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And I know that we covered some really powerful verses here in this video from Q, and I thank Q for sharing that. Now I want to share one with you guys about how I think it is important to serve God because He will serve you. Let's put it, or He will bless you when you serve Him. Let's put it that way. But here it is. This is out of Psalm 119. It's verses 65 to 72, and it says, Lord, you have treated your servant well, just as you promised. Teach me good judgment and discernment, for I rely on your commands. Before I was afflicted, I went astray, but now I keep your word. You are good, and you do what is good. Teach me your statutes. The arrogant have smeared me with lies, but I obey your precepts with all my heart. Their hearts are hard and insensitive, but I delight in your instruction. It was good for me to be afflicted so that I could learn your statutes. Instruction from your lips is better for me than thousands of gold and silver pieces. And that's it, guys. That's the simple and plain truth. All the money, all the riches, all the fame, everything in the world means nothing if you don't have God in your heart, if you don't follow the Lord, if you don't put His precepts first in your heart and you don't follow them, because there are people out there that want to tear us down. There are people out there who are darkened in their hearts and do not have the light of God with them, and they will look at you as a man or woman that they see as less than. But you'll know in your heart and in your soul that when you embrace God fully, and you embrace His teachings, and you embrace this glorious gift of this world that we've been given, that you will be saved and that you will be above that. And God is always going to be there for you. And I like to leave it there. I want to say thank you, guys, and I hope you remember that God absolutely loves you, and that's where we're going to leave it. But thanks for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. Also, if you guys want to help out, come here. Like I said, click the subscribe button, hit the like button. It helps channel out big time. But that's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed, and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.